The Great Gatsby. Chapter 1, Introduction to Nick Carraway and the World of East Egg. The story begins with Nick Carraway, the novel's narrator, reflecting on his life and experiences. He introduces himself as a recent graduate of Yale and a newcomer to New York. Originally from the Midwest, Nick comes from a wealthy family. However, he decides to go to New York to learn about the bond business and experience the glamour of the city during the Roaring Twenties. Nick rents a small house in West Egg, an area on Long Island where the new rich live. It's a more modest location compared to the old money district of East Egg, where the Buchanans reside. West Egg is described as a place of ostentatious wealth, but lacking the old world charm of East Egg. Nick visits his cousin Daisy Buchanan and her husband, Tom, at their mansion in East Egg. Daisy is beautiful and enchanting, but she carries an air of melancholy. Tom, her husband, is wealthy, domineering, and clearly has an affair with another woman. Myrtle Wilson, though he doesn't try to hide it from Daisy. At the dinner table, the tension between Daisy and Tom becomes palpable. Daisy is unhappy with her marriage, but she remains with Tom out of a sense of social obligation. Tom treats Nick with a kind of dismissive superiority. As the night progresses, Daisy seems to open up to Nick about her regrets, and a sense of underlying tension settles over the dinner. After the visit, Nick returns to his own modest house. As he walks back, glimpses the figure of a man standing outside a mansion across the bay, staring at the green light at the end of Daisy's dock. This figure is revealed to be Gatsby, a mysterious and wealthy man who lives in the grandest house in West Egg. Chapter 2, The Valley of Ashes and the introduction of Myrtle Wilson. Nick introduces the reader to the Valley of Ashes, a desolate area between West Egg and New York City. This industrial wasteland is filled with the remnants of the city's booming economy, representing the moral decay and the consequences of the American dream. Nick accompanies Tom to the Valley of Ashes, where they meet Tom's mistress, Myrtle Wilson. Myrtle is unhappily married to George Wilson, a mechanic and owner of a garage in the Valley of Ashes. She is desperate to escape her lower class existence, and she and Tom share a secret affair. Myrtle lives in a dull, depressing world, but she longs for the luxury and excitement that Tom provides. Tom takes Myrtle to New York City for an extravagant affair, complete with drinking, dancing, and parties. The day is full of indulgence as they rent an apartment in the city to carry on their affair. Myrtle grows increasingly brazen, and her transformation from an ordinary woman into a persona of wealth and sophistication begins to reflect her desires and aspirations. At the party, Tom's domineering personality shines through, and Nick witnesses firsthand the stark contrast between the Buchanan's world and the people they associate with. The evening culminates in a physical confrontation when Tom strikes Myrtle after she repeatedly mentions Daisy's name. The violence serves as a chilling reminder of the stark power dynamics between the characters. Nick leaves the scene, disturbed by the behavior of both Tom and Myrtle. As he heads home, he reflects on the complexities of class, love, and power in this world, feeling increasingly alienated from the people he encounters. Chapter 3: Gatsby's Party and the Mystery of J. Gatsby. Nick is invited to a party at J. Gatsby's mansion in West Egg. It's the first time Nick will meet Gatsby, and the excitement surrounding the event is palpable. Nick describes the party as a chaotic celebration of excess with extravagant displays of wealth, free-flowing alcohol, and a wild atmosphere. The guests are a mix of people from both East Egg and West Egg, representing the spectrum of wealth and social status in the 1920s. Nick observes the opulent spectacle, wonders about the man behind it all. He meets a variety of eccentric characters, but no one seems to know much about Gatsby. Some people speculate that Gatsby might be a war hero, a bootlegger, or even a murderer, but no one can confirm his true identity. As the night progresses, Nick finally meets Gatsby, who is nothing like the rumors suggest. Gatsby is charming, composed, and disarmingly polite. He's a man of mystery, whose past seems to be both elusive and fascinating. Despite his wealth and popularity, Gatsby seems somewhat lonely and out of place in the world he's created. Gatsby takes a particular interest in Nick, and the two have a conversation that leaves Nick intrigued by the enigma of the man. Gatsby is distant, but there's an air of longing in his eyes, and Nick begins to suspect that there's more to his wealth and parties than meets the eye. Nick returns home late that night, still perplexed by Gatsby's true nature. He can't help but feel that Gatsby is hiding something, but he is also drawn to the man's magnetic personality. Chapter 4: The Mystery of Gatsby's Past. In Chapter 4, Nick learns more about Gatsby's past. Gatsby invites Nick to lunch in New York, and during their trip, Gatsby reveals some details about his life, though many of them seem vague and contradictory. He claims to be the son of wealthy parents who died and left him their fortune, and he also mentions that he was educated at Oxford and served in World War I. Nick remains skeptical of Gatsby's story, especially when Gatsby's background seems to shift with every telling. Gatsby's mysteriousness only deepens, and Nick grows more curious about his motivations and his true identity. Nick is also introduced to Gatsby's business associate, Mr. Wolfsheim, who is rumored to have been involved in shady dealings, including fixing the 1919 World Series. This connection raises further doubts about Gatsby's fortune, as it hints at illegal activities behind his wealth. The chapter also reveals the connection between Gatsby and Daisy Buchanan. Gatsby reveals to Nick that he and Daisy were once in love but were separated by circumstances, including Daisy's marriage to Tom. Gatsby's entire life seems to be driven by the desire to reunite with Daisy, and he has spent the years since the war accumulating wealth and building an elaborate lifestyle to win her back. Nick realizes that Gatsby's lavish parties and extravagant lifestyle are all part of a carefully crafted plan to recapture Daisy's heart. Gatsby's obsession with Daisy and his need to recreate the past set the stage for the tragic events that follow. Chapter 5: The Reunion of Gatsby and Daisy. Gatsby arranges for a private meeting with Daisy at Nick's house. He is nervous, unsure if Daisy will remember him or if their reunion will be as magical as he imagines. When Daisy arrives, the meeting is awkward at first, with Gatsby fumbling and trying to impress her with his wealth and possessions. Over time, however, the tension between them fades, and they begin to rekindle their old romance. Gatsby is overjoyed at the sight of Daisy, and Daisy is moved by the realization that Gatsby has never stopped loving her. They begin an affair that reignites old feelings and desires, but it's clear that the relationship is built on nostalgia and the idealization of the past. Nick observes the reunion from a distance, feeling both happy for Gatsby and sad for Daisy, who seems trapped in a loveless marriage. Gatsby's dream of recapturing the past becomes more real, but it's clear that Daisy is hesitant, torn between the passionate allure of Gatsby and the stability that Tom offers. This chapter marks the turning point in the novel, as Gatsby's dream of winning Daisy back seems to be within reach, but the complications of the past and present begin to emerge.